Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. In our previous video, Kalina and I talked about what we thought were the biggest updates to Power BI last year. And the biggest update in my opinion was the TMDL view, which made Power BI a lot more developer friendly. And I mentioned that it's also very good for version control. It's good for version control because it turns your Power BI model into readable text-based files. So that means tools like Git can actually understand and log what changed in your report and data model. Now, proper version control is still pretty new for Power BI because it wasn't possible to do it until the PBIP file format was introduced. Also, many Power BI users don't come from a software engineering background where they would have experience working with Git. So I thought it would be good to walk you through a practical beginner-friendly workflow for doing version control. In this video, I will show you how you can track changes over time, see exactly what changed, and avoid overriding each other's work when you're collaborating with others. All of this using free tools like Git, GitHub, and Windows PowerShell. Okay, let's get started with the demo. First, I need to create a new repository, and I'll just call it PBI test. And before I click create, I'll check off this box to add a README file, which will initialize the repository. Okay, so now I created it. Right now it's just empty, but I need to, before I proceed, I need to clone this remote repository to my computer. And to do that, I need to get the URL address for it. So I'll just copy it here, and I'll go into Windows PowerShell, and I'll clone it using a git clone command. And I'll paste the URL. So I cloned it, and now it's under the c-users-oleg directory. And that's where I want to save my Power BI report that I'll be showing you. So I'll take my PBIX file, click Save As, and navigate to that folder. And I'll save it in a PBIP format. This is the one that allows the version control. So now it's saved a bunch of JSON files and folders into that directory. So back in PowerShell, I'll navigate to the directory. I'll say PBI test. And I want to take this report and have it in my remote repository on GitHub. So I want to add it there. So there's a command called git add. And after add, I'll put a period. The period means just add everything inside this folder and every subfolder. But you can specify specific files if you want to. But right now I want everything. So I did git add. We're not done yet. Now we have to commit this change. So the next command is commit. And we have to write some text to say what it is. I'll just say initial report. Okay. And after this, we're ready to push this upstream to the remote repository. So final step is to push it. Push origin main, and main is the main branch of this repository. Right now we only have one, but later on I'll show you how you can make a branch. Okay, so that's done. I can go into GitHub now, and I'll refresh the page. And now I have my report. And you see there's two commits now. So I have my history. This was the initial commit when I added the README file at the beginning of the process, and this is the report I pushed. And you also notice these codes to the right. And these codes are helpful because they allow you to revert back if you would like to, or move to a different version of your repository. So for example, if I want to undo these changes, I can go back to PowerShell and just say git revert and paste this code. Now I won't do that because I want to continue making changes. but that's how you would revert a change. Okay, so now that I have this Power BI report both in my local repository and on GitHub, I want to show you how we can make a change and track those changes. So I'll just take one of my measures and make a simple change. I'll rename it from profit margin percent sign to profit margin percent, the word, and I'll save it. I'm going to just go ahead and check what are the differences after I change this measure. So in PowerShell, I'll type git diff. And now you see I updated the profit margin percent, um, the visual and the measure. So actually, because I had it in the visual and the measure, it has to update it in two different places. And also, this measure is being referenced by another measure, which is also in the visual. So in total, it's actually four changes that one change I made is doing in four different places. So that shows me how the report changed. Now I want to do these changes upstream as well. So I'll repeat the steps I did earlier. I'll do git add, then I commit, updated profit measure. And okay, I pushed it upstream, and now there's a third commit. And we can see those same changes here as well, both in the visual.json and in my data model itself. So that's an example of version control in GitHub. I showed you how it works. And this is perfectly fine if you're just one person doing it. But GitHub is also a good collaboration tool. So let's say there's multiple people working on a report and you're doing something where you don't want to affect other people's changes. Uh, and in that case, I would recommend making a branch. So branching is one of the key parts of development when it comes to collaborating with others. So right now I just have one branch in my PBI test repository, but I'll go ahead and make a new one. And I'm making off of the main branch, but you can also make branches off of branches once you have them. But I'll make a new branch and call it new measure. So I'll make a new measure. Okay. So I made this. Again, we always want everything to sync locally to the remote repository. So I made it upstream. Now I want to make sure I have that locally as well. So to sync, I would run this command fetch. And it's showing me right now that there is a new branch called new measure. So I want to switch to this new branch so that every change I make happens at this branch and not in my main one. So there's a command called switch, and I'll say switch new measure. Okay, now I've switched, and now I can do same thing that I did before. So this time I will make a new measure. Let's see how that looks. I'll make a measure called average product sales. So I'll just say sales divided by count of product IDs. Okay, and I'll save it. And now I can repeat the steps I did again earlier. Git add, added average sales measure. And this part is different from before, where before I I pushed it to the main branch. Now I'm pushing it to the new measure branch that I created. Okay, and that's done. Let's go back to my repository, and I see that there's been a push 31 seconds ago. So after doing this, um, I'm going to do a pull request, which would allow us to merge it with the main branch. So pretend this is a different person doing it, and that person is submitting, please review, change. And now I'm back to being Oleg, and I see this change that another developer submitted. I want to see what's different. Okay, this is the code that's different. They added the average product sales measure. There's my TMDL code. Okay, and then there's this helpful message here that shows there are no conflicts with the base branch. So nothing changed between this version and that version that would be a problem. So in this case, I reviewed the code and I want to say, yeah, this is perfectly fine, and I can I can confirm the merge. Successfully merged and closed. Okay, and if we want to delete this branch, we can. I'll just keep it for now. So that was the last step. And just to go back and recap everything I did, first I created a new repository. Then I added my report from that was on my computer to GitHub. Then I updated my profit measure. Then I added a new measure, but I did it using a different branch. And then I merged that branch after reviewing. So that will be the end of my demo today. There's certainly a lot more you can do with Git, but I wanted to show you a simple, practical example of how version control can work with Power BI. This is definitely not the only way to do it. For example, you could use Git Bash instead of PowerShell, or GitHub Desktop if you prefer a UI, or even Visual Studio Code if you want something more developer-oriented. The main idea is just getting your reports into a format where changes are visible and traceable. So hopefully this gives you a feel for what's possible now with PBIP and TMDL and why version control is becoming more relevant for Power BI. I hope you found this guide helpful and thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.